This is a steal for the New York Rangers as they've made a sneaky good signing, and this tells us a lot about the future of this team and what Chris Drury is planning to do with the construction of this roster this offseason as Mike Sullivan gets ready to take over as head coach of the Rangers. We're going to break down who signed and why this is a big deal heading into next season. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 74% of you who watch these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, because again, it is going to be a very busy offseason. We got signings, we got head coaches being hired. We don't even know what's happening with the rest of the coaching staff. You want to stay up to date with everything? It's free. Go down below, hit that subscribe button. But let's dive right into it. The Rangers have made a sneaky good signing, I do believe, in Juuso Parssinen, and we know this player. It is a re-signing. He needed a contract this offseason. They got it done in pretty short order, and they've extended him to a 2-year contract extension. And I'm a big fan of this player. I have to say, if you go back and watch my videos around the trade deadline, I was saying that he could be a very effective player, and we're going to get into why he wasn't in the second half of the season with the New York Rangers later in the video. But I think that this is actually a good value signing and actually something to celebrate. And I'm hoping that he's going to play a big role next season. So, clearly Chris Drury believes in this player. I'm not sure the previous coach did. But again, we'll get to that in just a bit. Let's get into the specifics of the contract. So obviously, last season, he was an RFA, and obviously, they wanted to get this done pretty quickly because it was under team control. You don't want to leave this lingering for, too long in the offseason. Just get it done. Get it signed. Get it done. And I think this is tidy work from Chris Drury. He goes from $775, making $775, to $1.25 million. Now, you might be thinking that's a significant raise. That's a lot of cap coming off, right? That's a lot to pay a player like this. But we all have to keep in mind the salary cap after this season is going up about $10 million every summer. So players who are playing on your third and fourth line are going to start making a lot more money, like $5 million heading into the future, right? So we can't think of fourth liners as making under, $1 million anymore, because that cap, that's floor, is going to rise a little bit as the salary cap continues to rise over the next couple of years. So 1.25 for 2 years, a pretty good value contract if he brings what we know he can bring to the table. And this is from Peter Baugh. He said the Rangers are extending Juuso Parssinen, per a league source, obviously confirmed now by the Rangers, on a 2-year deal at $1.25 million. That'll leave the Rangers with around $8.4 million in cap space. They still also, keep in mind, have to re-sign Will Cooley, who's going to demand quite a bit of money, I would imagine, a career year and one of the best players. Got his jersey on the wall behind me because I love the way he plays so much. Keandre Miller. Now, that's an interesting one. He wants a significant raise and a long-term contract. I think it's going to be either the complete opposite, a short-term, not lucrative contract whatsoever, or they're going to trade him, so something's going to happen there. Matt Rempe, I don't think he's going to command too much money, but you want to get that done as well. And Adam Edstrom, I thought he was very effective when he was in the lineup. And the fourth line was probably the Rangers' best line for almost 2 months at one point in January and February. So you want to get him re-signed as well. So you're going to be left with not too much. But, we're not going to cover it too much in this video. You can move off of a couple players to free up some salary cap space. I'm just saying there's another jersey that hangs to my right, in these videos, that maybe they're moving off Zibanejad. Maybe they're moving off Kreider. That's going to free up some space. If you move off Kreider, which everyone seems to believe that they are, that's $6.5 million right there, right? So you can find a way to sign all these guys and you'll still have quite a bit of salary cap space to play with, which I think is handiwork from Chris Drury. And on top of it, again, you're going to get about $10 million more next summer with a lot of these guys locked up. So I think the Rangers are actually in a very good spot. And you can see here from Peter Baugh as well. New York can open a bit more cap space if players like Othman, Perreault, Berard start the year in Hartford. But obviously the cap situation is tight, which could lead to other moves this summer. So that's interesting too. I mean, look at the current roster right now. If Othman and Berard start in the AHL, I could see Gabe Perreault starting in the AHL for sure, although he could come flying out of training camp. We don't know what's going to happen, right? September's still quite a ways away at this point. But, if those two guys start in Hartford, who's going to play on the main roster, right? You're going to have to make some moves. So especially if Kreider's coming out, one of these guys have to play up. So I still think there's an avenue to make some moves and free up some more salary cap space this summer. So again, I think it's a pretty good deal. Now on the player himself, I mean, this is from 2 years ago from Alex, and obviously following the Nashville Predators where he was at the time. Someone go tell Juuso Parssinen that his 7th round picks aren't supposed to look this good. The Preds have a nice piece for the future. Again, that was 2 years ago. And why did he look good on the Nashville Predators when he was there? Why did he look so good, and why were fans happy about him? A, because they didn't have that much, veteran presence at that point. They didn't make all those signings, which turned out to be horrible for them. But they were playing a lot of young guys, and they were giving them ice time, which is something that Juuso Parssinen did not get in New York. And this is from a while ago, and this is from Phil Kosher. Laviolette has elected to play Brodzinski over recent trade addition Juuso Parssinen. Now, was that the right decision? It was probably proven to be correct, right? Because Brodzinski finished the year fantastic, right? He had a fantastic end to the year. But there was a lot of other guys in the lineup that weren't playing as well as Parssinen, but because of the speed element he brings in the steadier all-around game, but also because of the positive influence he has on the Rangers' youth. So 100%, right? That makes sense. But I think with moving a couple pieces out, giving him a defined role on this team, this is what you do, this is what we need from you, next year, I think is going to prove to be very good for not just the player, but for the team. I think he's actually going to, show everyone what he has. And I think he's a very effective player. I think he can be, at least if he actually gets some playing time and put in a role where, put in a position to succeed. So many players on this team are not put in positions to succeed. Not just this team, the entire organization. And we've talked about it ad nauseum for the last year. So hoping that he actually gets a role next year and actually some playing time, because Laviolette didn't play this player too much. And Parssinen also said earlier today that he hadn't decided if he's going to the World Championships yet, because that is still up in the air for him to play for Team Finland. It appears he has now made up his mind. Euro Vakanainen said he's also considering going, but he's dealing with some bumps and bruises from the end of the season and is still deciding. So the Rangers will have a lot of representation at the World Championships coming up here soon. So that's going to be fun to watch as well. And in terms of Juuso Parssinen and what he said coming over to the Rangers, like, he's happy to be a part of this organization. When he was traded for, that he was a little bit shocked. But then when you hear it's the Rangers, it's pretty legendary organization. It feels pretty special today to put on the jersey. So this is a guy who wants to be here. He was happy to get traded here. He didn't get the opportunity that I think he would have hoped, and that Rangers fans need to be able to see that this player can be effective. So I'm not saying he's going to come in and be as effective as like a Will Cooley or, like any of the guys, JT Miller or anything like that. But I think that he can play a really good role as a third line center next season. And, that's why they went out and traded for him, and then he was never played in that position. And, I'm not blaming it all on Peter Laviolette. I do think it's a two-way street. Like I said, the same thing for Kaapo Kakko as well. Kaapo Kakko, did he get an opportunity here? No, but he didn't make use of the opportunity that he was given on the third line, right? So it kind of goes both ways. So we'll see what happens next year. I do think it can be a sneaky good signing for this team if he ends up panning out. And it's only a 2-year contract. You can bury some of the money if you need to. Pretty low risk, I think, for me, with a lot of high upside, I think, because he's only 24, right? It could work out very well. One last thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap up here is Vince Mercogliano had a great article on what's next for a lot of the rookies on this team. And I just wanted to point this out. Go check out the article. Really good stuff in there from a couple guys like Brett Berard, for example. Gabe Perreault said this: it's difficult to draw many conclusions from the 2023 first-round pick's brief debut this season because he was limited to 5 games. He was scratched. All that stuff we talked about a couple weeks ago or a month ago at this point, and hoping that he can make the team next year and make a very good impact for this team. But we'll see what next season brings for Gabe Perreault and a couple others. Matt Rempe he touched on as well. Brett Berard. So pretty good article there. Just wanted to mention that. Go check that out, and we'll see what the future brings for the young guys on this team. But again, let me know in the comments what you think of this signing. I think he could be a very effective player for this team. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.